Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
We see you getting after your fitness goals. But what about those money goals? You can count on Credit Karma for a clear view of your finances and your progress, helping you see results so you can keep checking off those financial personal bests and find your way to money. Progress never felt so good. Download the Intuit Credit Karma app and start achieving your money goals today. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
Episode 3 of The Messenger, the Rachel Cancer Scam. This moment is pivotal. It marks a profound turning point, not just for this story, but for me personally. And more importantly, it marks a watershed moment for Rachel's oldest daughter, a young woman who was once known as Madison. You've heard fragments of her story from the beginning. Her presence is very much a part of the fabric of this narrative, even before her voice entered a conversation. But now, she has the opportunity to speak for herself, to share her truth, unfiltered and unvarnished. This is her chance to tell you, in her own words, about her complicated relationship with her mother, the vital role her father Mark played in her life, and to speak to his character as a man and as a father. As you listen, I encourage you to keep in mind that this is the same young woman who felt so estranged from her own identity that she couldn't bear to keep the name she was given. Her mother had already claimed it, appropriating it for her own career as a dancer and a sex worker. Imagine what it would be like to have your very name turned into a symbol of someone else's narrative. A narrative you never asked to be a part of. This is also the same girl who endured the full weight of her family's collapse, who at an age when most teenagers are simply navigating those years and transitioning from high school to college, she was unfairly blamed by her mother for the breakup of their family. But her only crime was speaking the truth, voicing suspicions, and shining a light on what others preferred to leave hidden. As we reach this crucial juncture in the story, I urge you to listen with empathy. Madison's voice brings a perspective that you haven't fully heard yet, and it's an important one. It's the voice of someone who lived through the lies, the manipulation, and the fallout of Rachel's actions. Keep in mind that this is the young woman that at one point was the apple of Rachel's eye. In my conversations with her leading up to this interview, I had found her to be thoughtful and intelligent and refreshingly honest. She doesn't shy away from the hard truths, even when they hurt. What you'll hear today is more than just a conversation. It's a window into the emotional core of this story. It's a chance to better understand the family dynamic and some of the lasting impact of Rachel's choices. Madison's story is her own. It's not Rachel's version. It's not my interpretation. It's hers. And it's my hope that you can finally begin to grasp the full weight of this story and what it meant to be and what it means to be Rachel's daughter. Now, do keep in mind that I recorded this interview with her after the first season of the podcast was nearly done. The recording was done in June of 2024. And some things have changed since the interview, and I have additional information on some of what she brings up, and I'll share those things with you after the interview. I've taken steps to make sure that the interview has not been materially altered. I thought it was important to preserve as much as possible. I've only made minor edits. The interview hasn't been changed or edited to take anything out of context. And here it is, my interview with the daughter formerly known as Madison. Thank you for doing this. I know that there's nothing that's easy about this for you. Tell me how you're feeling. Your world's been blown up. Your mom's lies and affairs have just sent your world and quite frankly, your entire family's world upside down.
At first it did, especially when everything happened in December 2023 going into 2024. It definitely was a shocker. I had my own moments where, I was contacting my personal counselor in December when everything was going down. And I was having a few freakouts. I was very angry. I was very sad. I had anger outbursts a lot. But just listening to it now, since things keep happening so often, I would walk into my therapist's office and be like, "You ready for the next episode?"
Your life has become its own show, in a way, your own crazy and sad reality show, like it has for all of us, everyone that's impacted by her.
I've become pretty numb to it, I would say, because now it's just normal. My mom does something crazy, it's normal at this point. We find out something else about my past, it's normal. Like now it's just kind of like I'm numb to it. It happens every day. There's something new every single day. There's something new that happened yesterday and the day before that. So it's numb at this point.
It's got to be just so much for you to try to process at this point.
The last time I've been shocked about something, I would say, is when I found out about my name. That was a pretty big shocker. And before that, it was discovering that I've had no family in my life because of my mom's cheating. I don't know if you know this, but I have had no contact with grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, anyone my whole life because of this. I have had no family besides my 3 sisters and my parents my whole life. So I have never had a grandparent come to a birthday party. I've never been to a family reunion, a family gathering of any kind my whole life ever grew up. So that was a big shocker, and then after that it was my name. But
will you tell me how you found out that she was using the name Madison when she was working in the adult entertainment business?
I remember being on the phone with my dad, and he was just sharing stories with me about how he met my mom. And he was like, "Oh, when I met her, she was an exotic dancer at the club I worked at, and she actually went by the name Madison." And I was pretty disgusted, and I immediately was like, "Okay, I got to change my name. Like, there's no way."
Did you find this out at the same time that your mom had been caught cheating with Russ and that she had been lying to me and leading this double or, triple life? This was December of 2023. Or did you find out after all of that came out?
This was around April. I think it was in April I found out. So this was way after everything. Things piling up about my family, and then the name thing kind of just blew it out.
You and I had a conversation the other day. I brought something to light with you that you had no idea about, one of her crazy lies. And you actually said to me, this kind of made me chuckle. You said, "Is anybody really surprised at this point by anything that happens with her?"
At this point, like I said, I'm numb to everything. Nothing is shocking. To be honest with you, I think that the last thing that was shocking was this thing with my name.
I'm guessing that you confronted her.
So immediately after talking to my dad about the name thing, I was like, "Would you care if I change my name?" And he's like, "No." After thinking about it now, I never really wanted to name you that because I thought it was weird. But your mom had said it's our story because that's how we met. And I told my sister at first, but I get along with the most, I would say. She and I are the most similar. And I told her, Mom used to be a dancer, and she used the same name that she named me, so I'm changing it. Just out of spite, it was just me being stupid in the moment. But even though we were both on different sides of the divorce, I still was talking to her. And I was like, "You want to help me pick a new name?" And she actually helped me. Like, we put together a list of names, and one of the names that she put, the one that I chose actually, she went and told my mom.
How did that go? What did she have to say?
My mom sent me this long, lengthy text saying, like, you can't, like, you can bash me all you want, but you don't tell your sisters about my past. And, you know, she continued to essentially bash me because I was telling my sisters about her past. And then later on, I mean, she had kept on saying, like, your dad agreed to that name. It was both of our decisions. I've always loved that name, and, you know, it was our story. And then later on, finding out that she used that when she was an escort, that just kind of blew that lie out of proportion. I mean, she went fully in depth in the text message about how it was their story and it was a sign of their love, and it was clearly.
And nice job on the name selection. You're brave to have gone through with that. That takes a lot.
I like it a lot more too. I hated my original name. Now I have a reason to.
What else has come to light to you through all of this?
Discovering that I've had no family in my life because of my mom's cheating.
Tell me what else shocked you.
I don't know if you know this, but I have had no contact with grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, anyone my whole life because of this. I have had no family besides my 3 sisters and my parents my whole life. So I have never had a grandparent come to a birthday party. I've never been to a family reunion, a family gathering of any kind my whole life. And that's something that I've kind of always realized about my mom.
Your mom, by the way, used to brag on you all the time about how smart and how driven you were and you are. This is just painful to hear.
Or I recently realized, I would say the last couple of years, that all I have ever been to my mother is a way to brag to other people.
I know that your mom pushed you in a lot of ways. Were there ways that weren't healthy or you didn't agree with?
My mom has always said, like, I wish you would, you know, I wish you would graduate with this. She's always tried to push something on me, something big, something crazy that she can use to brag to other people, whether or not I wanted to do it. And, you know, as a kid, like, my whole life has kind of been planned for me. I have always wanted to be a doctor, or so I thought. I think my 3rd Halloween, I was dressed as a doctor with a coat that said Dr. Madison.
By the way, let the record show that I had a picture of Dr. Madison in my phone for a number of years.
Yeah. Well, I have always been told you're going to be a doctor, and I have always been told you want to be a doctor. This is what you want. You know, in so many words, not like that, but it was very convincing. And it wasn't until I stepped away from my mom and I was in college surrounded by people that actually had goals and dreams. I was like, this is not what I want, actually. I actually don't want this. I don't want to slave my life away in school. I would rather be a nurse or a nurse practitioner. I don't really want to be a doctor. And so I was always a bragging point for her. I was always a way to brag to other people. I mean, she would tell people that I was going to Notre Dame.
It was a huge lie of hers. In the spring of 2022, while I was living in that home to suites next door to your home in Atascadero, she and I talked at great length about that issue in particular. She obviously, had put on this act that she was angry with you for missing various dates and deadlines and paperwork and all this with Notre Dame. She would say, well, I did this for her and I did that for her. I can't do everything for her. And I remember, pressing her at one point to take her foot, off the gas with you and give you just a minute to breathe and figure out what you want to do.
I don't even think I ever wanted to go to Notre Dame. I never wanted to go to Duke. I never wanted to go to Stanford. Of course, everyone wants to go to Harvard, but I didn't really. I was fine with going to a normal school. I think I remember saying I wanted to go to Oregon State at one point. And I ended up doing research on Penn State, and I fell in love with that school. I mean, I wanted to go to Texas A&M. I wanted to look at Baylor. Like, I looked at all these different schools, and she was like, no, we're going to go to Notre Dame. We're going to go to Duke. We're going to apply to these Ivies that, were way out of my league, and I really had no interest in it. And I paid for all the applications. So it was I was just a bragging point. And now that I'm out of her, now that I'm no longer in her clutches, she's using my sister as her next bragging point, or my sister who have been flown all over the world for softball or is doing modeling, you know. I mean, everyone is in some kind of plan in her head that she has.
Sure.
So she can use us to fuel her own fantasies that she never actually got to do, I guess.
What do you make of her treating you girls and everyone like pawns and really about all her lies?
I mean, honestly, it's just the sickness. It's just her sickness that she has. There's something wrong, and we tried to get her help, and she refused it. I truly think she just believes all of her lies, and they keep piling up. And I mean, we talked to her mom, my grandmother, and none of the stuff that my mom has told me about her is true. None of it. She always said, like, my mom just wants to try and be a grandmother now, I guess, because my grandmother would send Christmas gifts and birthday gifts and money for graduations, and I never saw that money. I never saw those gifts. I mean, I see them occasionally, and there was usually some kind of snide comment like, oh, I guess she's trying to be a grandma now. Like, she never wanted to see you guys. She never wants to fly out to see you. Just bashing her whole family.
There's a piece of this that's a shocker for me, that Rachel has said that her mom is out of her life. At one point, she went as far with me as to say my mom is dead to me. And this was like, you know, literally something out of The Sopranos. You know, I remember Tony saying that about Livia. What do you think?
Mochi Health is here to help you start your weight loss journey with caring, personalized support. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who truly listen and understand your unique needs. Eligible patients can access affordable GLP-1 medications delivered right to their door each month. No insurance? No problem. Mochi Health accepts FSA and HSA, making care accessible and affordable. And with 24/7 customer service, you'll never feel alone on your path to better health. Get started with Mochi Health today. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com with promo code AUDIO40.
That it takes for someone to say that about their own mom.
Again, I think it's just her sickness. I guess it's her way to hide who she really is from everyone in her life that are on to her lies and cons. I know that now. I guess I just didn't ever question her because she was my mom, and of course I didn't know the truth until all of her cheating and lies came to light.
Rachel's mom still loves and misses Rachel and is heartbroken by all of this. Why do you think that she needed to kill Sherry off in my story with her?
I'm guessing that it was her way to try to keep you from finding her out, who she really was and is. She knows that Sherry knows the truth and all about her lies for years, going back to childhood.
Have you met your grandmother and your Aunt Sherry?
I haven't seen them since I was a baby. And another thing on that topic is that I was denied access to the paternal side as well, from every one of them too.
You've been denied and alienated from your family. All of these relationships, these are really great people. I've gotten to know Sherry and Clay, and I'm connected with their kids on social media. Crazy to me that you were denied access to your grandmother and that side of the family. It makes me sad for you and your sisters that you have lost all these years because of your mom's illness.
My mother is such a fantastic liar and manipulator that she convinced my dad to stop talking to his mother, because his mother, my grandmother Becky, she told my dad, hey, I feel like she's a little bit promiscuous. I think she might be cheating on you. Like, she told my dad that, and my dad was like, no, there's no way. And my mom convinced my dad to stop talking to his family because they believed that she was cheating. I have had no family because of that at all. We're talking to them now and we're realizing, oh wow.
You know, you don't get a redo of going to grandma's to play or have sleepovers. That was essentially ripped from you. You have people on both sides of your family that love and miss you. All of you, not just you, but Mark and your sisters and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking to them now, and they're scrolling through my mom's Facebook page or Instagram or whatever, and they're like, I had no idea that your sister went through major back surgery. I had no idea that this happened. I have, like, there are so many big things that families should know about that they have had no idea about this full time. And it sucks because I've had no idea who these people are. I don't know anything about them because I've always been told they're horrible people. And it's not true.
Obviously, I've not met a lot of these people, but I've spoken with them, including Sherry, your grandma Becky, Mark's mother, and your cousins. We interact on social media.
I mean, just an absolutely fantastic manipulator. And it's hard to know how good she is unless you know her. And she's the most likable person you'll ever meet. She's so intelligent. She's so kind. She's so perfect. But it's hard to believe that this woman is a master manipulator. And it's one of the first signs of narcissism. I mean, I've talked to my therapist about it, and she said that's the first sign of narcissism, that everyone loves them. Not everyone has a family, but when you're born with one and you have no reason to not be with them, it sucks. I mean, it sucks to know that the whole reason I have never had a family when I could have, and I should have, is because my mom has been cheating since the beginning of my parents' marriage.
Your dad's going to be on the podcast too, as you know, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but one of the things that, you know, ran through my brain after I picked up his message was that she's dead. This is that phone call. That's what I thought for a minute. This is that phone call I feared I would get one day after her hospital stay. The cancer had taken its toll.
I had assumed after re-listening to our conversation or just rethinking about everything that had gone down, I thought you were thinking my mom was gonna die, or my mom was dying, and that's why we were calling. When we found out that not only had she been cheating on my dad with you, but you had no idea that my dad was still even in the picture. You had no idea that my mom was even alive. And that's what I was thinking later on when I was going through all the stuff that's happened lately. I mean, when you told me what my mom has been portraying to you for a couple years, I was like, there has to be something wrong with her. I mean, who puts on this grand scheme and then cheats on my dad and has a boyfriend at work? And then my dad was telling me about how when they first got married, like a week or two after they got married, she ran off and got married to another guy. I mean, within 2 weeks of them getting married, she was married to another person.
Wait, this is a story that I've yet to hear. So your mom married your dad in 2002. Who did she go marry after that? What's this guy's name? This thing just gets worse and worse at every turn.
I don't know his name. You'd have to ask my dad. He knows the details, but to my knowledge, she went and married someone else after they got married. You'll have to ask him for the story because he knows it. But I mean, he was telling me about that after we had the phone call with you, and after we were talking about Russ, and just going over, she has to be sick. I mean, there's something must be wrong in her head.
Your mother presents in such an unbelievable way that you want to believe her and believe in her. I think that's why she's so good at her craft, why she's such a good grifter, her charm. I mean, I'd say to people all the time, she's the nicest, sweetest person that I've ever in my life ever known. And she loves me like no one else has ever loved me. But, I guess it was all just lies. I guess if she was sweet and caring and she was all of those things, she never would have cheated on your dad or every boyfriend that she's ever had. She would have fixed that relationship with you in the spirit of holding the family together. I met you and two of your sisters the week leading up to Christmas in 2021. I remember the day. It was Thursday, December 23rd. We met at the In-N-Out Burger. It was raining sideways that day. You used to work at that In-N-Out Burger as well. Now, your mom made this big deal about us sitting across from each other instead of sitting next to each other and having no contact. And I'll dig deeper into the why, but it has something to do with the relationship with Bobby And I'll get into that at some point. I'm not sure how knowledgeable you are on that topic. So another time on that. But she told me that she promised you girls that she wouldn't bring another man into her life and around you until you girls were out of the house. Anyway, she gave me my marching orders. What did she tell you and your sisters before you guys pulled up at the restaurant? What were your instructions?
She had told us, I mean, my parents had been fighting that week or something like that, and she had been saying, don't bring up your dad, don't talk about him. I mean, I don't want any negativity, during this, and Harry doesn't like your dad, so just don't mention it. Those were kind of the instructions we had. She just told us that you were like a really good friend from when you were younger, and just wanted to go out, and you didn't want to hang out with you. She didn't want to hang out with you without us because it would feel weird. Like it would be like cheating on my dad without us.
You shared a story with me this spring, and I got to say this, as we sit here chatting, it's now June of 2024. We're in the middle of the month. I'm not sure when the interview is going to air on the podcast, so, some perspective time-wise there, but you shared with me how you started to grow suspicious that she and I were involved. Will you share that story now?
It was a weird situation. I mean, she had been on the phone with you for a couple weeks prior. She was showing me your YouTube videos. I mean, she was talking about you to me. And in my head, I was like, this was kind of like a schoolgirl crush. And it was a little bit odd. I mean, the way that she formed it, it was like, you're just really funny and you guys are really good friends. But in my head, I was like, this is kind of weird.
At some point in time, her extracurricular activities became apparent to you.
I have really good intuition. I mean, in my head, I was like, this is kind of weird.
What about what you found in your mom's car?
I'd gotten in from school. I'd gotten back in the car after school. She had just gotten back from a trip in Santa Barbara and picked us up. And on the passenger side, on the floor, I picked up an orange piece of paper with handwriting that I did not recognize. But at the bottom, I think it had said something like, "Love, Harry." And I didn't read all of it because I was in the car with my mother and I wasn't going to read personal stuff. But I looked at it for a second and I was like, this is kind of weird. And I set it on the console and she snatched it right out of my hand before I could set it down. And that was just a weird little thing I found. And I think a couple nights later, after I had found that note, I had gone through Instagrams, done my little stalking as most teenagers do. I had gone through your Instagram and found it. And I found photos of you and my mom in Santa Barbara. And I was like, that's kind of weird because my mom does overnight nursing. That's a little odd. I looked through the comments and I looked through the title of the post and it was like, with my Rachel or quick getaway, or someone had asked, are you guys dating? And you had said yes. And my mom had responded with like a kissy face emoji as if like confirming you guys are dating. Oh, my mom's cheating on my dad. Okay. So I had confronted her the next morning after I found the posts. I screenshotted the post and I didn't show them to her. I just wanted them for my own personal evidence file, I guess. I talked to her in the car after she had dropped my sisters off at school in the morning. I said, your friend Harry, he seems to think you guys are dating. And she said, what? I was like, yeah, they're the post about you two dating. And she was like, he's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. He's obsessed with me. And I was like, yeah, what's crazy is that you commented a kissy face on there, like confirming it. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so she dropped me off, again confirming like he's crazy, he's obsessed with me. I'll have to tell him to take it down because he and I are definitely not dating. And I said, okay. So I went to school, and after class, I had looked at Instagram again just to like reconfirm what I had seen. And your account was blocked from my profile. Like I could know someone had logged into my account, and my mom had access to all of my social medias, and blocked you from my phone so I could no longer find you. And I unblocked you and immediately went to check out the post, and all of her comments for likes were gone from it. Which was just like double confirmation that, oh, my mom is cheating. But I wasn't going to tell my dad because if I was wrong, I was ruining my family.
As the lawyers would say, well, the real lawyers, not the Rachel lawyers, this is clearly something that shows the evidence of impropriety. There's more to this interview. And you'll hear it all. Clearly, Madison saw her own red flags that she kept to herself. It's tough not to have your heart break as you hear the daughter formerly known as Madison tell her story. You'll hear the rest of that on the next episode of The Messenger, the Rachel Cancer Scam.